about green spaces. What are they? How do we use them? Kind of thing. This all came about, we have a home builders association here that services southern Indiana, and they're like, we don't, we're building and stuff, and we build homes, but we don't know how to really make green spaces happen. So we're going to talk about the importance of them and kind of how do we incorporate them maybe into your lives as well. So the EPA defines it as a green space as open space is any open piece of land that is undeveloped, has no buildings or other built structure, and is accessible to the public. Open space can include, and they've got schoolyards, playgrounds, public seating areas, what have you. That's a public green space. But you could have green spaces at your house. You have a yard, right? Yards are green spaces. You don't have, your house sits on it, but your house isn't like movable off your yard or anything like that. So you can kind of put more functionality into your yard outside of, well, I have to mow the grass this week and everything else. So we're going to talk about the functionality of that. This is actually some green spaces because we are a very urban community. We do have several just along the Ohio River. You've got Jeffersonville River Stage, Falls of the Ohio, George Rogers Clark Home. Over here you've got the Loop Island Wetlands, the amphitheater down in New Albany. This map looks very familiar. If you go right upstairs, the Greenway project is upstairs, so you can talk to them more about this. But you're kind of looking at connectivity because you guys go downtown and stuff, maybe there's a lot more buildings, it's not very green, and we all like green spaces, right? We like to go out and look at the flowers, whatnot. So this is to look at the different connectivity that we have between our big green spaces here. So why are they important? Provides a buffer, right? You might plant some trees to block a neighbor's yard or block some noise out. It also does infiltration and recharge of water. Those green spaces are really important that when we get a large rainfall, that they can slow the water down and let it soak in so we get the natural aquifers recharged. Flooding. This picture is in 2005. You've got a power line that runs right here. Okay, same river, 2012. They move. It's water. It moves over time. The power line now runs over the river. So this is, if we have flooding, if this river had like all this cement around it, if it was all cement around it, it wouldn't have been allowed to move, would have had a lot of flooding problems then. Right now this is in a very green space. It's allowed to to move and help with the flooding issues that we might have. So we also have impervious surfaces. I took this picture in Bedford one day. It's hard to see, but this is the main road and the water is just gushing down it. It's an impervious surface. The water just can't get through there. Now, to my right there, we had our ditches and stuff. We had the rock. It's more of a pervious solution, but it's still not infiltrating. There was too much water for it to really capture. This aerial view kind of shows how you can have both at the same time. So they've got their pervious and then they've got their impervious. So this could probably be like a sloped parking lot or something, so that as the water runs off, it is going to those green areas to kind of help infiltrate and slow down any flooding that might occur. Well, what if you're going to add some green space to your house? You need to think about what zone do you live in, because green spaces, we're thinking of plants, things like that, more than just your lawn grass. Do you have downspouts that you want to maybe filter in somewhere so you can slow down any flooding that might happen in your yard? I have a yard that I do have a hill and it does get really wet there. So maybe I want to rearrange my green space a little bit so that it's more functional throughout the year instead of only when it's 70 to 90 degrees outside and dry. Do you have it available where it's really good for gardening? Could you turn it into a vegetable garden so that you still have your green space, but it's now a functional green space where you're getting food out of it? Do you have septic or other buried lines? We don't really want to have you build over your septic lines, but you could maybe build in between if you had to, or there's other buried utilities depending on where you're at that you have to think about. So this would be, wow, it comes out a lot different on my screen versus this screen. So it's a garden. They've actually gotten some rock over here and on the other side that they've put in to kind of help direct the water to the drains that they want. and then they planted in with natives. And it's hard to tell, but this actually slopes down. It is a downward slope. So they've put in those plants to help slow down the water, because plants that create a barrier that you can kind of slow down the force of the water. What about a rain garden? It kind of sounds like features of a rain garden. We like to use native plants. If they're not native, they could become invasive. And then you have a whole other problem with your green space. Sunlight. Are they really tolerant to moisture? Do they like wet feet? Because that would be a really good thing to know if you've got an area that stays wet, if they like to have wet feet. What sun do they like? Like full sun, part sun, shade? How big are they going to get? Are they kind of aggressive? There are a few plants out there that, like the obedient plant. Really good plant, but needs to be planted inside a pot and then in the ground, because if not, it will take over.
It's not so obedient.
Yeah, it's not very obedient at all. Seasonal interest do you have? Do you build your garden so that it's flowering all the time and there's always a visual interest in your green space? Do you like salt? Right now we're in the middle of winter. We might be putting salt down on our driveways for the ice, whatever. Well, as that salt gets caught up in the melt and stuff, it goes out to your yard and out to your plants. Plants don't like a whole lot of salt. So that's something we need to think about. And then, are you going to build for the birds and the butterflies or other wildlife? Are you wanting to bring in more than just a green space, but also some other wildlife? So those are kind of some things that we can think about, talk through. This is another example. Again, I don't know why they look funny on the screen, but they do. So this is the upper side of it, and the lower side of it that they've built, and added the rocks there just to kind of slow down the water a little bit, because you're also wanting to slow down any soil erosion going on in your green spaces. No soil means the plants can't grow in the roots, things like that. So this is how they redirected their downspout. They added an extender to it and kind of just put it right to the ground. When I actually have a driveway that slopes into my garage floods. So what we've done, and I had a downspout that pointed into my garage as well. Well, I needed to redirect that water and put it at a better use, so we put a drain in. Something similar to this, but an actual in-ground drain, and we redirected that water out to the yard. So it's not picking up all the junk from the driveway, but it's going straight from the roof and the driveway out to the yard where it can be better used, instead of creating a huge mess in my garage. Well, what if you decide you want to do a garden instead? You've got to kind of balance those impervious and impervious surfaces based on your needs, because if you're an older person, maybe having it, like a sidewalk put in is better for you because it's a flat surface, and then you plant in between the sidewalks or the brick paths, what have you. So they've laid brick, but there is gaps in between the brick, so it allows water to soak in there, and then they kind of built some small raised beds. So that's a possibility for your green space as well. Or if you have a smaller green space, maybe you can't till up your yard or whatever, and you do put in some raised beds to get that green space. How about we bring it indoors? People live in apartments, they don't maybe have a lawn that they can do, or maybe they don't want to rent out a garden space. Bring it indoors. Do some creative indoor walls, planter walls. Or just some more modern pots, They don't take a whole lot of work. They add the fresh air in because they like taking carbon dioxide, give out oxygen. So just bring your green space indoors a little bit. And everybody likes a little bit more green space in the winter months, so maybe you make them a unique green space. These are little kiddie pools. So maybe if you have a balcony and you still want to plant, this is a way that you can, those little pools aren't that expensive. Let's put that out on the deck. You can fill it with your soil and stuff, and then you've got a garden that you can relatively easily take care of. So that's a possibility.
Can you grow vegetables that way?
You could go. You got tomatoes that will grow in 5-gallon buckets.
Kitty litter bucket.
Yeah, you can do a kitty litter bucket. Just clean it out first, but yeah.
They
are, but so you could do some other ones as well.
You can also grow them in just the bag of dirt that they come in by cutting an X, planting it, and the roots go vertically or horizontally.
Yeah. So it's a possibility. This would be really good if you wanted to grow like cucumbers or whatever.
Zucchini.
Yeah, anything that binds, that's a really good way to keep it contained because we know they go everywhere. So yeah, there's a lot of lettuces, but yeah, it's something different that's unique way. Yeah, you could do any of the roots that you eat, carrots, things like that. Those could go in there.
So it would be nice and fine to you get your carrots out.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't have to deal with oh, we had a drought, I can't get my carrot out. It's give it a little bit of water, soften it up. Yeah.
It goes away with soil. Put another one inside that. Cut that bottom out and fill the rest of it. So you got it.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, you can, and those are, again, you can get them at the dollar store. So a really easy garden fix if you've got like, or even if you don't want to go out in your yard because of maybe some physical limitations, put it out on the back patio, and there's a new garden space for you. So, what if we took it sky high? You have a lot more buildings now that are putting in green roofs. So maybe if you did live in a apartment complex that had more in the city, in the urban areas, they have a lot more flat roofs. Take your green space up on top. You can put whatever you want up there. People grow trees up on top. They'll put like lemon trees in pots and grow them up on the top of the roofs. Things like that. This is in Chicago. I went there last summer. This company is very into green. They like to grab all the water they can off of their roofs and use it as a brown water system for all their restrooms and things like that. So they have put sedum all across the top of their roof. Chicago is really getting into this now. So that's a possibility if you've got maybe like a shed or something like that that you wanted to recapture the water off of. Sedum? Sedum.
Sedum.
It's more of a desert plant, a very mushy leaf sort of. They like drought.
Do you have a C or an S?
S-E-D-U-M, sedum. So these are all sedums that they've put up there to help recapture some of that water. And not only were they doing it on the flat surfaces, they have a curve in their roof system. So they've actually planted these on the curve to slow down any of that water, so they don't have a lot of storm water running off the roof. They've captured it in this system. So
how do they pull it from the system? Does it seep in and drain out?
There's like, it's kind of like a guttering system that it pulls down and does that. Yeah.
So it doesn't.
It's not coming off.
Like it would a roof.
Yeah. So that's why they put this in there. Is they're trying to be as green as possible. And they've installed all this stuff to catch that. So
now I guess there's a storage container.
Yeah, they run them, I think, to underground tanks. Even their parking lot, they're capturing the water off their parking lot to reuse in their restroom facilities and things like that. It's actually a food company. I think it's Telsco. Yeah. So they're really trying to capture as much as they can. They've even got a green wall. Philodendrons, philodendrons just take off. They've actually ran wires inside their office to grow philodendrons up the wires to create a green wall to help make new space. So that's kind of, we've got one more. So this is the actual angle that I was at, and their cars are down there. So that it's a relatively steep curve on their roof that they're capturing that. But people are starting to kind of get into having green roofs to capture that stormwater, because we get a good downpour in July and it's coming down in sheets. It's gonna be a really detrimental effect as it's running off the roof and down into the gutters and pouring out the gutters. So they've kind of modified like a rain barrel system to capture off of here. So outside of rain barrels, you can, if you have a small shed or something that's easy to get to, that's something that you could do as well, so that you're kind of adding green space to your existing structures even. So that's kind of what I have for you guys today as a brief overview, but I'm open to answering questions about plants or whatever you have, because that's kind of my background, or how do you make this work kind of thing.
So every day I drive by this empty lot for sale.
Yeah.
That I think there was a house on it at one point.
And
so I dream about buying the lot and just leaving it green, or buying, because I don't want somebody to build a house there.
Right.
Or buying a lot, and I know that it's different zoning for community gardens and things like that, so I don't know even how I would find out about the zoning for that lot if I.
Well, you'd have to go to the, if it's in the city, you'd have to go to the city and say, hey, what's the zoning for this? Because that's something else that in our community, we do have vacant lots and they sit there.
Right.
It rains, nothing happens to them, maybe they get overgrown. So how do we as a community step in and turn those spaces into something more functional? Because yeah, it's great that we have grass there, but then why couldn't we turn it into, maybe it is a community garden, or maybe it becomes like a playground where families can go and that neighborhood takes pride in it now, and maybe they've added, you know, more flowers to it or something else to bring it in the neighborhood. So
yeah, I think about guerrilla gardening, just stop and jump out of the car
or
and do stuff there and then drive away. And
yeah, that's something that we do face as a community. That you drive around New Albany, there's many lots that are vacant and they could really be put to use outside of a grass lot. Maybe we do need a house there, but maybe the community or the neighbors around there see a different need that isn't a building but is something. Maybe they do need some trees because the house next door gets to 100 degrees because they can't afford an air conditioner and they need to plant some shade there. So maybe we do some shifting of that and of ideas about what that vacant lot should be. I don't know. It's one of those, it's a struggle for everybody. That's what the home builders are struggling with. They're like, you know, we see these vacant lots and stuff as well, but they're there for a reason. I mean, sometimes we just need them for flood control, but they have to be flood
so with
control.
the community gardens in New Albany, I know of two, but is there some like citywide infrastructure that supports them?
There is not.
Yeah.
They're kind of all individual efforts.
Yeah, because the ones in Louisville are part of the Louisville Metro support.
Yeah. So they're all individual efforts that have the communities kind of, those neighbors have said, yeah, we really want this, and they're taking care of it. So.
Does Purdue or anyone around here offer a service where you can go and learn how to turn a lot? Like we've got one that's about 300 feet long, and 20 feet deep, or 40 feet deep, to turn that into a wildflower as opposed to all grasses.
Well, that's where you're talking. That's why you would talk to me. Like I go out and I do site visits. So a gentleman said, we have all this property, we don't know what to do with it. Great, I'll go out and we'll walk it and see, well, what's the benefits of it? Like, it's got some strong features, maybe it's got a lot of trees, so do we do some logging and increase those trees? So I could come out and we could say, okay, how do we, what is the direction of the sun facing and stuff? And then I'd also get you in touch with a master gardener. Because I've got master gardeners that are kind of specializing in different areas of, whether it's butterfly gardening or gardening for the birds, what have you. And we'll connect all the dots so that you can have a plan to go and implement it.
I can't tell you that she goes out because she's already been to our house about the emerald ash borer.
Yes, I knew you looked familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Purdue employees as extension do not charge for their services. We do charge a small fee for some of our classes. Like you're taking master gardeners right now. There's a fee that goes with that to present all the materials. But when I go out and do site visits, I don't charge. That's the county kind of covers some of that fee for my mileage or whatnot. But after that, I'll come out to anybody's house, as long as you're in Floyd County, because there's an educator in every county that does what I do. So, yeah.
So how will we get a hold of you? Do we call here if we want to meet?
My office is actually upstairs on the second floor. I have a lot of volunteers right now hanging out at my table. The Purdue Extension table is right down the hallway here. They've got my business cards. So you can shoot me an email, give me a phone call.
So like we have like two-story house, we have a walkout patio, we have a lot of drainage problem where we do have a little bit of a garden set up, but with the overflow of how our raised bed is, we still get a lot of water deposit there, so you can help us to kind of eliminate some of that water settling in our backyard.
Yeah, we can look at it and look at the slopes and say, well, maybe we need to redirect the drains one direction versus another to help alleviate that.
Figure out what kind of plants would help absorb some of the excessive water. Okay.
Yep, that's kind of what I do. Yeah, Mom.
And do you just, in Floyd County, do you just do this in Floyd County?
I am the Floyd County A&R educator. Now there's someone just like me in Clark and Harrison and every other of the 92 counties here in Indiana. that's the beauty of Purdue Extension is we're right in your hometown. We're right here and people don't realize it. So I might not always be in my office because I'm got a lot of things going on both locally and statewide, but I'm here for the community and for the county. So
Does Louisville have that too?
Louisville has Extension, yes.
Are you able to talk about the structure of the green roofs? What's the first layer, the layers?
Well, and I'd have to look at that, but on this one they've got like borders, so they've kind of like you would a raised bed where they've kind of leveled it off. That way they don't get the soil running off and
Right.
stuff. But yeah.
And then you probably have some kind of plastic.
Yeah,
rubber.
you're gonna have a plastic layer just to keep anything from hopefully seeping through, but otherwise, yeah. Other questions?
So does that help with, like the EPA stormwater?
Some of these do, yeah. Yeah, and actually at this building they've done a lot with trying to be as green as possible. That's why we've got a pond out back. Master gardeners have put in their gardens here. I mean, the green thing isn't just like a movement. It's, everybody really is trying to get back to that and the health of everybody. So, and that's what I have. If you want it, there is a publication about the benefits to your health in the green spaces. Because I teach a lot with court therapy and stuff. Getting out and moving really does help. If you have arthritis, it helps hand-eye coordination, anything like that. So there's more to just looking at it growing food. It's really keeping your body as a whole healthy. Because when you're pruning, you don't want to miss where you're pruning at and grab your fingers. So there's a lot with that. So, and that's something else that I have as the Purdue educator here. I also have connections with other county officials as well. So we can always ask me and I will find out kind of thing. And because we all work very well together. I work a lot with stormwater because we are trying to, that's an agriculture thing as well, and natural resource. That water is kind of limited, especially fresh water. So that I do work closely with all those organizations. Yeah.
One thing I'd like to add is that we've gone over to rain barrels, and wow, we've got 10 55-gallon drums now, and we water all summer long based on what we take in. And
Did you buy the rain barrel or did you make
We
it?
buy the large barrels and we buy the adapter kits and we daisy chain them together so that they fill, when one fills up it goes to the next and then it fills up, and we got little spouts on the bottom, and we've put in little irrigations to where it goes and feeds the front and the back and down into the shade garden. But it's a great way to take your gutter, put it into a rain barrel as opposed to coming in your garage.
Other questions?
Is it too late to order trees?
No. You can order them from Bologna State Nursery. I think I have some order forms upstairs if you really want one.
Okay, thanks.
I
do.
Okay, good. I'll get them for you.
So that's why I thought, well, if you can come out and look at it for us, that would give us more
Yep,
ideas.
and that's what I do is people, whatever questions they have, I go out and do about everything.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Gina?